Hey, welcome back. This is part 3, and I'm doing this in complete part on my new camera here. You see I swapped at the end there, and I had another video. So for now on, this is probably the camera I'm going to be using. As you can see, it looks like I have a complete car, but that's not the case. So let's dive right into it, and I'll show you what I got going on. Alright, so as you see, I cut the quarter off of it, and I have the old skin over by the garage door. But what I just did was I placed this skin on the car. It's just pressed on, barely fitting right now. I jumped the gun a little bit, and I thought that this I cut was much higher, but it wasn't. It was much lower. That's not a problem. I have the other piece over there. I'm just gonna section in, and that's not an issue. Over here, this is what I was trying to accomplish on the other side, but what I'm gonna do is get the fit a little bit better, scribe it, cut it, and I might just have to just cut it like, you know, just give it like an 1/8 or 1/16, and then just keep grinding it till it fits perfect. I want to have a nice snug fit, and then this is all fitting well until we get here. And the reason it's not going in is because this is pretty thick, and this is not. This piece is not going to slip on over it. So I need to get it close, and then I'm going to try and get the angle, and then just cut it. And then, like I said, I'm just going to have to work it in. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this inside panel. So let me take this panel off here. I'll show you how I just have it placed on there. See, just pops right off. Which was kind of that easy coming off here. Let's play around. So I've been thinking and looking at this, and if you feel it, it feels like it's 2 layers of metal, so I was kind of worried about that. But it's one piece of metal, and the inside is like rubber coated. So I drilled a hole there and there just to make sure it was a single panel. Took a couple hammers and dollies, and I tried straightening this rail out. It's much better than it was, but once I get the panel in there, I can clamp it and then just tack weld it in place. And then the same with this. I cut this out to try and straighten that panel and get it off, but you don't really need to do that. I don't even recommend doing that, but actually this being cut here might actually, see, it makes this flex much easier here. You could also put like relief cuts in it too if I need to. Put like relief cuts in there, and then this will straighten out, and then I can just tack it back, and that'll what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stitch everything in there and then seam seal the whole inside, the outside, everywhere that I possibly can to make it really strong. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in with a grinder. You can see there it is. All these little burrs. That's going to keep the panel from sitting flush. And you see, just going to clean that all up. And then I think I'm going to section in this piece. I think that's the best option I have, seeing how I have that whole quarter panel over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that one and see how it goes. If it doesn't go that well, then we're gonna try to straighten this out, but I'm tugging on this pretty hard, and it's pretty crumbled. I was thinking about putting a piece of flat metal in here, but then it's not gonna be fixed properly, so I think I'm gonna get started cutting over there, and then we'll see what happens. But until then, I'm gonna clean this all up. Alright, so I have this thing just welded in there, just started tacking it. There's a gap here, but I'm going to hammer it from the bottom, and I should fill it. But just the that's pushing on it really hard, and it looks much better. It's a lot better than this mangled piece of shit. There, let me see if I can't grab it. It's sharp. So we went from that to that. So I'm going to come back tomorrow and finish welding that. I stopped, it's getting late. I have it just tacked in there. I'm going to show you that. I just wanted to get everything lined up, make sure I have it kind of right, this gap here is a little tight as compared to this side, but I played with it and played with it, and that's as good as I'm going to get it, especially with my skill and equipment and everything here. I don't know if anything else is bent, but to get everything to line up the way it is, that's where that gap has to be, and it's totally not bad. I lined the window up and it's not that bad either. This clipped in there, but I don't have all the clips in. You can see some of the clips are junk. I didn't get to doing that. I cleaned the spray paint off of it and started stitching it. Here, I just threw the door on. It's not plugged in or anything, but that's that. And then before I strip this off, I'll show you this too. I had a sway bar end link go bad, and I got a new one, and I tried tightening it down and the nut just kept spinning, so the inside was spinning and it was no good. I had them exchange it. This one did the same friggin' thing again. The bottom one tightened good, top one not so good. So I just welded the inside to the sway bar itself, just one tack. Actually 2 tacks, one there, one there. And then just hit it with the impact. It's tight. It's not going nowhere. I can live with it. It started pissing me off. I'm not exchanging another one. I'm tired of playing with that. Sometimes you just gotta get shit done. So let me strip this and then show you where I'm at. Okay, so I have the outer plastic piece just taken off of it real quick. I just have it tacked here, there, and then I have to still do the seam. What I think I might do for some of these holes here, drilled all the way through, I'm just going to drill through the first layer here, and I think there, and then just tack it to the inside piece. All the other spot welds will line up pretty well, and then I just have it tacked along in here. This gap is that's how it is, so the plastic piece can slip in there. This is all going to get seam sealed here. I just have this tacked in, but another 2 spot welds there, and then the whole bottom's going to get spot welded. I didn't do that side, but it's lined up pretty good here. I started spot welding this side, and it lines up pretty well. Just eyeballing that inner piece that I put in there. It's fitting really well over here. This is tacked in. I have it tacked behind these hinges. I think I might take the door off. I really don't have to, but I think I'm gonna, just to make it easier for grinding and everything. The only other thing I got to play with right now is this seam, but once you, I'll show you. You can see how you just clamp it and the gap goes away. Then down here is a little funky. It's the same height. I just have I cut a sliver off that I'm using as filler panel, and I'm just going to bridge it and then just tack it, grind it smooth. Then I'm going to seam seal it, paint it, and then I have to do the same for in here. So I think I am going to take the door off again just to seam seal it in these edges once I tack the whole inside flange in. But we're moving along pretty good. And then I cleaned up all this over here. I have to clean up the window edge, and then I have some window glue, urethane, some seam sealer, some primer, and my friend at Napa mixed me up some paint for this thing. I looked up the paint code earlier today. Here's what I came up with. I got all these clamps going, and they're holding the seam together. Did a pretty good job. I just started spot welding it, so now I'm going to remove these clamps, and there's spot weld under this one, and there's half the spot welds are covered, but it ain't moving right now. These are all spot welded. This is spot welded. I gotta go back, clean some of them up. Right here, there's a hole. But I'm just gonna come back with a little bit more weld in this area, there, and maybe some of these other little pinholes. But besides that, we're doing pretty good. See, there's a spot weld there. I have no idea. This shouldn't move. Let me just... It's a lot of clamps. 5, 6, 7 more spot welds there. And the seam is coming out pretty good. So after I grind those down, I'll paint it, and then I put that weather strip all the way back around. But we're getting there. This is looking pretty good. I think I gotta grind this one just a little bit more. Just a little bit. And then I can start cleaning up the window. And then you got a tube of seam sealer here. You got another one in here. I think my dad might come down and help me caulk a little bit. He does windows and shit for a living, so he's pretty good using a caulk gun. He has this professional gun there that I used. I borrowed a while back, but he might help me lay some nice beads out, because I think a machine did these ones, and he can't do that, but he can get it looking a lot better than I can. I could smear shit, but can't do that too well. But we're getting there. Problem is I'm running out of gas, so I've been turning it off every time I stop and let the panel cool. I'm like right at the end, so I gotta get the tank filled. I have another tank over there, another big tank about that size, so I will not be running out anymore. Or I shouldn't have that problem running out, but we're getting there, and everything's lining up and looking pretty good. Alright, update. Since made some progress here, and before I finish her off, I painted all the edges and seams, primed, painted it with that color match can, and this is just so it doesn't rust. This is all going to get covered up. I could have done that black, but I already have a couple cans of it, so let's I'm going to use it. So this is going to get covered to here. I'm going to put the window in. It's going to get seam sealed right there. It's going to get seam sealed over here, and then it's going to get painted over again. This is going to get seam sealed in here, but I just kind of wanted to seal that off before I went too far, and I couldn't do it, so that's why I painted it. Did in there, but the color match is pretty good. Here, I'll show you, because this is probably going to come off, so the tape doesn't get stuck in where the window goes. Well, you can see the tape line, but it's a pretty close match. It really doesn't matter much because you're not going to see it. But I'm going to start seam sealing. This is what I'm using. Just a net. Alright, so far this is what I got going on here. My dad came down, he helped me glue the window in, and the glue's starting to set up now. You can feel it squished out the side here. We just have these in here as a spacer. Everything's taped up. I seam sealed everything. He helped me with that a little bit, but I'm gonna come back when it's dry. It's starting to set up too. It's still a little squishy, but should be able to sand it lightly and paint over it there. In here, I went a little bit wider just to put on a little thick there, but it'll sand off. And then in here, all around, and then this is where try and get a light up in there. You see there was a big gap in there, and then oh, almost fell. Up in there. There's a gap in there that had to get sealed off, but I'll paint up in there as much as I can. And then down here in the wheel well, I seam sealed, well, this is undercoating, but I seam sealed that edge there. I'm seam sealed this edge here. Can't really tell now that I undercoated it, but that's where I welded the inner panel in. All in there, can't really see anything. And then all this is gonna get sanded and painted too. And then this plastic lip also on the inside sits over it, so you'll never even see any of that either. So Did down and under there. And then the biggest thing too, let me see if I can hop up here and show you. It's nice having this access panel here. I'm calling it an access panel. Call it what you like. But it seems sealed from the top too, and then I had some just regular caulk, and I just went around and caulked everything else from the inside too. Alright, I think I'm gonna end it here. Looking a little shitty over there, door missing, but the next part is probably gonna be final assembly, reassembly of it, and everything should go well besides just painting what needs to be painted that dries quickly. I'd put the door on now, but I don't want to open and close the doors and risk popping the window out. The pressure might take care of that. But we should start assembling it, see how everything goes. You put the interior back in, and then we gotta make some arrangements for the inspection here and get the title turned around from salvage title to a reconstructed. But here's the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks.